The October-November update is always mostly just filler, except for 2020 when it was new power that stole the show that year. This year's filler is not that kind of filler, something like Fire and Ice or Groundbreaking. This update introduced a few really neat additions that filled some much needed spots for certain nations and some that are just fan favorites that have been on the wish list for a long time. The first vehicle we're going to take a look at is the F-111A Aardvark, the showstopper, capable of a whopping 5,500-pound bombs or 26,750-pound bombs, 456 Mighty Mouse rockets, and 8 AIM-9B missiles. The Vark is looking to be one of the wildest base bombers for Americans at that battle rating. It also has a wild 2 hours of maximum fuel capacity just in case you needed to loiter. At 10.3 is going to face some of the wildest opponents like the SU-25BM with the R-73, A-10s and Sea Harriers with AIM-9Ls, and the J-7D with PL-5Bs. It has 26 large caliber countermeasures so it can somewhat mitigate these, but those engines burn at around 1200 degrees Celsius, so a 9L might be a bit too attached to the F-111A's tail. It can also carry a 20mm gun in the bomb bay, so it can be a fighter if you want it to be. Also has a pulse Doppler radar, at least for tracking enemy aircraft beyond visual range. Of course, down the line, we'll even get more advanced variants of the F-111 like the F-111C, that could also be for Britain potentially as an Australian aircraft, the FB-111, and maybe even the F-111B for premium or event. But for now, the F-111A marks the debut of the Aardvark family into the game. Teased on the dev server for the Americans as well, but still unplayable, is the MH-60L DAP, or Direct Action Penetrator. This also marks the debut of the Black Hawk family into War Thunder. Speaking of another family debuting, the M109 also debuts this update for 5 nations. America and Britain with the M109A1, Germany and Italy with the M109G, and along with Israel. All of them are at 6.0 for the 109Gs and 6.3 for the M109A1. Germany's in for a great treat this update thanks to the MiG-29G, the NATO modification of the MiG-29s the Luftwaffe inherited from East Germany. Now with access to R-73s and the R-27ET on a 912 airframe, the MiG-29G is expected to be the best MiG-29 in-game so far. That wraps up the set of East German aircraft for Germany to be added, unless they decide to add the MiG-29 GT and the Aero L-39ZO. Another niche fulfilled by this update is a top-tier helicopter for Italy. For far too long, Italy has only had helicopters up to 10.0 and 10.3. Thanks to this update, Italy gets its first 11.7 helicopter, the AH-129D or A-129D, whichever nomenclature you prefer. The AH-129D is 11.7 because of its new top armament, the Spike ER. With a lock range and launch range of 8 kilometers, the Spike ER acts like a Pars 3LR in the German Eurocopter with a bit more range. However, it gets a little finicky over 5 kilometers as the missile tends to lose lock after launch beyond that range for some reason. Previously, spikes were only present on ground vehicles like the Freccia and KF-41, but now the Spike ER on a helicopter is something new. Another helicopter added to this update to have the Spike is the Tigre HAD Block 2 for friends, but that's not available in this iteration of the dev server. This little addition opens up a lot more helicopters getting this in the future, such as the Saraf. Well, the Saraf is already in-game, it just needs to get the spikes. UH-60M for the US and the H-145M for Germany. Britain could also benefit from this if they got the Korean AW-159s with spikes. Though I'm aware that some of these helicopters use the Spike NLOS variant, it's just an idea on what we can see in the future updates. Now let's move on to the part I enjoy the most about this update, the new SPAA for Japan. The Type 81 Tansam is a 10.0 SPAA with a range of around 6 to 8 kilometers against aircraft and around 4 to 5 kilometers for helicopters. The Tansam also introduces optical tracking for some SPAAs like the Type 93 and the Strela 10M2, although on the Strela is currently not working as of the last time I tested it. The Type 81 is great because it's way better than what most people ask from War Thunder for a top tier SPAA like the Type 96 multi-purpose missile system or the Chu multi-purpose missile. The Type 81 is better because if War Thunder does implement a way to give vehicles with separate fire control radars a way to fire their missiles with radars, the Type 81 can get its radar missiles, and if not, it will stay as an infrared missile as it currently is. It's a very safe option, good choice since it's an actual SPA because I believe if they added the Type 96 multi-purpose missile system or the Chu MPM, it would get the SPG spawn cost like the ADATs because of its anti-tank capability. Speaking of failed niches, the British get a light tank, the Vickers Mark 11, which takes a really huge wheeled hull and mates it with a VFM5 turret. I mean, the British already have the Roycat, but the Vickers Mark 11 is still a very welcome addition. Though I hope the British Army light tanks see the game eventually. The Scorpion, the Scimitar, and Sabre would be fun to have in your lineups as Britain. USSR gets another prototype, the Object 775 with a 125mm ATGM launcher strapped to a very low and flat profile vehicle. Aside from the autoloader, there is an ammo rack in front between two fuel tanks. The armor layout makes it so that it cannot be penned due to its incidence angles, but there is still a possibility that it can be penned from the lower plate. But since the vehicle is so low profile, shooting down there makes it close to impossible to actively penetrate properly. Of course, the October update coincides with the new Battle Pass season, which gives us a British boat, the Breda 9053 or the Italian flak bus, and possibly the best reward in a long time, the BAC Strike Master Mark 88, a 6.0 Australian jet with 4 7.62s and 4 hardpoints for rockets and bombs. Don't worry, the plane is premium, so you don't have to worry about trying to make it work in your RB. Okay, I'm saying this because the last time that I got a really cool vehicle, the Kirov, during the old Strength Athletics Battle Pass, it was not premium, so I just need to cover my bases. Top it with a Centurion Mark II from the recent Battle Pass, and you've got a rank 4 grinder, buddy. Provided you can live with that. Finally, there are the two battleship premiums for Japan and United Kingdom. The Yamashiro, an early Fuso class battleship at 6.7, and the HMS Iron Duke, also at 6.7. This is interesting because US, Germany, and USSR only got 12-inch armed battleships. Well, Germany got an 11-inch armed battleship for their premium. So it's interesting that Japan and Britain get bigger guns for their premium ships. All that's left is Italy and France, and I do hope they get good premium battleships. Though, I expect Italy's to be any from the Conte di Cavour class, and France's to be from the Courbet class of battleships. More minor additions include the PLZ-83 for China, which in reality looks like the Chinese doing the 2S3M. The T-54E2, another premium taking the T-54E1's gun and putting it in a conventional non-oscillating turret with a human loader as opposed to a revolving autoloader. Sweden gets the PBV-501, a NATO-fied BMP-1 with taillights, no ATGM, and supposedly no autoloader for the 76mm gun, but that seems to not be modeled yet. Here's hoping that Germany also gets their BMP-1A1 Ost, which is essentially the same thing, a BMP-1 with no ATGM launcher. USSR gets another BTR-152, but this time with 4 14.5mm guns. France gets an M26 Pershing and the AMX-10P. The AMX-10P is labeled as an SPAA and is at 5.3 because they gave the variant with no ATGMs. And at 4.7, Italy gets a Leopard 1 with an open-top 40mm Bofors gun. It's the Leopard 40/70. All in all, not a bad update. This update will also possibly drop on the 25th of October, coinciding with the end of the current Battle Pass season. Then we'll have one final update for December, which will be a big one. Think something like Apex Predators. Now that's something to look forward to. Thanks for watching. This is the Dr. MD. Regular programming will resume next week. Godspeed.